Hi there, I'm Cheryl, and today I'm going to share how I made this Father's Day card. So this is what we're going to need. We need one piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I used the thick for this card. And this is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I have another piece here that we're going to be stamping with our marbled stamp. It's a background stamp from Stampin' Up. So we'll be stamping on that piece. Then I have another piece of the thick Whisper White, and this is 3 3/4 by 5. And then I have another piece. It would be a strip about 1 by 5, but as you can see, I'm using scrap. And the same with a piece of cherry cobbler. That's also a piece of scrap that I had. And then I have a piece of basic gray cardstock, and this is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. I used this stamp set also. This is My Sentiments Exactly, and it's a Happy Father's Day stamp. I found this on Amazon.com. I'll be using Tombow glue. Oh, I'll show you what we're using. We're going to use this Happy Father's Day right here, and this sentiment for the inside. Thinking of you, especially today, and wishing you a Happy Father's Day. So we'll need a ruler, an eraser, and a pencil. Some Stampin' Dimensionals. On my sample card, I used the Nouveau Crystal Drops to make this little like enamel looking drop there. And this is Autumn Red. But then I remembered I have some red pearls, and since my New Year's resolution is to use up some of the things that I have, I'm going to use one of these pearls on the demo. And then the inks we're using are the Memento Tuxedo Black, Cherry Cobbler, and the archival Stampin' Pad here, Basic Gray. So let's get started on the card. The first thing I'll do is let me bring in this big piece here. Oh, and off to the side I have a stamping trimmer. That's going to be very important for this. So, and I need my marbled stamp. And you could mount this on a big block if you want and stamp it this way, but I find it's just as easy to just lay it on my craft table like so and ink it up. Actually, I think this is easier than trying to put this on a big block. Who has a big block like this? Actually, I do, but probably not too many people have it. Now, let me get that inked up real well. And put that down. I'll just rub that all over. Being careful not to move my paper. I don't want that to shift while I'm doing this. Okay, so there we have most of it's covered. There's no matter because I'm going to do another one over here, and that will give us plenty of this marbled for our card. So, you know, I can't talk and ink my stamp at the same time. Okay, so there we go. And you can see I got smudges on the back. That doesn't matter. We're not going to see the back of these. once they're stuck down, no one's going to see them. Okay, so now we've got a lot of marbling on here. And I might as well do all of my stamping. So I should wipe my fingers off. Let me grab a baby wipe real quick and wipe my fingers. I did get some of that ink on my fingers, and I don't want that to be places I don't want it. So we'll bring our card base in, and I'll ink that with the Tuxedo Black. Now when I put a sentiment like this on a block, I try to line it up with the edges of the block. This one happens to have a grid work on it, but I always try to line up with the edges of the block because I know I tend to use the edges of the block more than my sentiment to stamp it straight. So 1, 2, 3, and there's our nice sentiment. And then we'll be using the cherry cobbler on that strip of paper, if I can find it again. Here we go. We'll be stamping that with the Happy Father's Day. Oh, here's a tip for you. If you have a nice long thing that you're going to stamp, that you're going to mount on your block, lay it down on your table like that. Just let it kind of fall on your table, and then just pick it up with your block, and that way it'll be straight. If you try to take it and place it on your block like this, then it's a good chance you're going to get a funny curvy wavy thing, unless that's what you're going for. But if you want it nice and straight, it's easiest just to go like this and just pick that up with the block. And I'll stamp my Happy Father's Day. I'm going to try to stamp it kind of in the middle here. I'm going to trim it off. I'm going to be trimming this down. So let's see. And there we go. We have that stamped. So I'm going to trim this down so there's a equal amount top and bottom. And then I'll measure that. And I'll cut this piece of cherry cobbler to be just a little bit wider than this sentiment. Okay, so I only want just a little bit of it showing. Let me show you. You see, so there's just like a 1/16 of an inch showing on the edges here. So I'll do that later. Okay, so we've got all of our stamping done. And I'm gonna go off now, and I'm going to take my marbled stamp here, and I'm going to cut this into 1 1/4 inch squares. So I'm going to cut a whole bunch of 1 1/4 inch squares, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I have all of my little 1 1/4 inch squares cut here. And I also trimmed my Happy Father's Day and my cherry cobbler. So you see that will go on here just like so. And just have a little border of cherry cobbler. And now we can start to put the card together. So I'll need, let's see, where did it get to? Okay, so here's my piece of 3 3/4 by 5 inch Whisper White. I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to mark the halfway mark point here, and that would be, let me turn this around this way. That's easier for me to see if the inches are where I'm going to mark. So I'm going to mark that halfway, so half of 3 3/4 is 1 7/8. So there's 1, there's the 2 mark, and right here I just put just a little tick, and go down here and do the same. this point. Okay, and then I'm going to draw a line just in the middle of the card here. Okay, and then I'm going to mark halfway again here, so that's 5 inches, so that would be 2.5. That one's easy to figure out. There's 2.5 and 2.5, and we'll just connect those dots. And now I have a cross section, and that will give us a point. That doesn't look even. Let me measure that again, because I think I got a little off there. Oh, I sure did. There's the 1/2 inch mark right there. Huh. And let me check this one again. Now, how did I get so far off? I must have slid my ruler when I was making the marks. So I'll connect those two, and we'll see how those look. It was pretty obvious that was wrong. Okay, so this bottom line here, I'm going to give that a little erase, just so I remember to use the top one. I'll take one of my squares. I'll put some Tombow glue on the back. And I will line my points up with those lines. So there, I've got my top and bottom lined up, and my side to side. And there's my first piece down. And now I can erase. I'm going to hold it in place because that glue's not set up yet. I can erase all these pencil lines. And so now that one is centered. Then I'm going to just start gluing these down. And I'm going to alternate the pattern. So if I have swirls that go this way on this one, I'm going to have swirls going this way on this one. So it'll go somewhat like, well, that one's kind of swirly all over, but it'll go kind of like this. Okay, so this one will go like this, and so on. And once more, I'm going to cut out, and I'm going to get these glued down, and be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I'm still gluing pieces. I just have a couple more to do here, and I'll show you how I trim this off. If you find that you're running low on interesting pieces to use, you can always trim your little, we get towards the end here, you can always trim off the other ones and then use them in your, to fill in just these little edge bits. Oop, I've got glue on my fingers. Where'd that baby wipe get to? I'll need that. There. So I've glued those all down, and I've left just a little space in between them. So it looks kind of like tile work. Now I'll come back, I'll trim off all of these ends. All these bits that are sticking out over the end. I do this from the back because I find it easier if I have the cardstock base that I'm gluing it onto to guide me. And once we get this done, we can put our card together. Okay, so those are all trimmed off, and that's what it looks like from the front now. Get these things out of the way. Come on, get out of the way. Go on, off with you. You glue these together. So I'll adhere my Happy Father's Day banner. This is a cherry cobbler strip. Okay, and we'll need some, I need my dimensionals. Did I say we needed dimensionals? Because we do. Okay, here we go. I got them now. And I'm going to put that across here at an angle like this with my Father's Day. I want that kind of towards this side. I want to leave a little space here so I can put my pearl. So let's see. Right about like that. So I'll put my dimensionals along here. Let's see, where am I? There we go. And there's the day part. I'll put one there. And I'm probably off camera. So there, we've got our dimensionals on there. If you're going to send this through the mail, maybe you'd prefer to use a strip of craft foam, fun foam, and glue that on the back here. Because sometimes when they go through the mail, they get a little messed up. You know, they get squished and squashed and... Okay, there we go. Right about like that, I think I want it. I often do that. I use foam. I'll use foam behind my pieces like this instead of just a little dimensional dot, and just glue it with the Tombow. Okay, so there's... We'll trim that off, even with the edges. I'm doing it this way because I find it so much easier to do it like this than to try and measure and cut angles and everything. Whereas I can just put it on the front and decide how I think it looks best, and then I just trim off the extra in the back. Okay, so we've got that whole piece ready. We can glue that down to the piece of the basic gray. And just center that. There's just going to be a tiny little bit of that showing around the edges. And for things like this, and for gluing these little squares down, I prefer the Tombow because it gives you a little bit of time to move things around if you need to. And so often you do need to when doing something like that. Okay, so I open that up and make sure that I have it facing the right direction. And then I'll glue this down. And we just need to add our pearl and we're done. Now if you're going to use the Nouveau drops instead, the best way to do that is you take your drops and you'll want to, first of all, I like to start to squeeze off on the side somewhere on a piece of scrap, just to make sure it's not going to spit, because it'll sometimes do a little spit and sputter. So you get there, hold your bottle straight up and down, and start to get a little ball. You see that little ball? Can you see that? That's what you touch to your paper. You touch your little ball to the paper, and then you can squeeze a little bit more out if you want to make it bigger. I'm not going to use it, so I'm just going to wipe this off, and then I'll tap that down. So I get all that product out of the nozzle. I don't want to leave that sitting in the nozzle. Okay, so we have this all, so that's how you would put your little dot on. if you're using the crystal drops. But I'm going to use up a pearl. I'm one pearl closer to using up all of my crafting things. And that's okay. I already have that cut off. I'm just gonna pick it up, put it down. A lot of times I'll use my little pokey tool and put that in place, and we're finished. So there it is with the pearl. There it is with the Nouveau drops. And this is a pretty easy card to make, so I hope you'll try it. It doesn't have to be a Father's Day card. This could be just about any occasion, and it's a nice masculine looking card. So a happy birthday or thank you so much, something like that. That would be wonderful too. So if you have any questions or comments, then be sure to leave those down below. If you've liked my video, hit the like button. I do check that, and it makes me so happy when I see that people have liked it. If there are any Stampin' Up! Products you'd like to purchase, then you can do that. If you use me as your demonstrator, you can use my Facebook page or my blog, and that'll be listed down below, as well as all the tools and materials I used today. So, y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stampin'.